Chelsea have finally avoided defeat for the first time in the last 7 games, and they scored a goal. What's not to celebrate? I'm joined by Karam, Grewal and Charlie Patrick, both of Chelsea Fan TV. How are you both? How did you find the game?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. It was nice not to lose for a change. Sort of forgotten what that's like, but also a little bit like it's a bit little too late, and the opportunity was there to win at Anfield. We probably won't get a better chance.
Does it feel like a win or...?
I don't know. I'm mixed emotions because it was there for the taking, like Charlie said. It was fine margins. We had an offside goal, which was like millimetres offside. It was there for the taking, and we don't win at Anfield much. It's been a while, so...
I felt like it was a weird game because it feels like one of them where things could have gone either way, and a draw probably is fair on the when reacting to it, because we had that moment with João Pedro and Cole Palmer, which was kind of close, but then it was one on another day. You could have lost that 3 or 4-1, Szoboszlai hit the post, Van Dijk hit the bar. And I still just feel overall this overriding sense of negativity around Chelsea.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, really? When you're sat 9th in the table, there's, 2 games left in the league. Yes, you've got an FA Cup final, but I don't think people are expecting an awful lot from that. And when you're looking at how low the points total is going to be to probably get Champions League football, you've got a massive sense of disappointment. If we'd shown an ounce of seriousness as a club in terms of the playing staff, manager, etc., that Champions League spot was there for the taking. I don't think you'll get an easier season to qualify for the Champions League in terms of points total and in terms of potentially there being a 6th place available for it as well. So yeah, you do have to feel a massive sense of disappointment, and you are right, there's not an awful lot to be positive about. But the game itself is one of them where you can see it again, early goal, one down in the first 5 minutes, and you're sort of there and you're thinking, right, this will be exactly the same as other games. We'll probably lose this 2 or 3. In terms of positives, I think it was good to see us not just see our heads drop in a moment of adversity, because we've always seen as soon as we concede a goal, heads drop. We don't respond well to adversity. I actually felt we responded quite well in that game, but again, at this stage of the season, that ultimately counts for very little. And a point at Anfield in any season should be looked at as a positive, but given the context of how things have gone, it's hard to really take much from it.
Yeah, we did at least score a goal for the first time in the league in a long time, what's felt like a long time. It was debatable as to who scored it. They certainly debated it plenty on TNT Sports. Who do you think scored it?
I mean, I think it's clear it was Enzo. I don't think... I've seen so many different angles of the Wes Fofana, and it looks like he has the motion of going to hit the ball, but when you actually see, there is a gap between the ball and his foot, so he didn't score it. It was that I'm confident it was Enzo, but Ali McCoy, he was saying otherwise on comms.
You think the same?
Yeah, no, I think it was Enzo. I mean, look, to be honest, I'm not really too fussed who scores the goals.
Yeah.
Goals are a rare commodity for us at the moment, so as long as the ball goes in the back of the net, I don't care who it is. But yeah, I think it was Enzo. Yeah.
I feel like Fofana also when he runs off to celebrate, he kind of goes like, oh, what's
he was pointing at Enzo as well. He sort of knew.
That tells you everything you need to know, but obviously no one could convince Ali McCoy otherwise. If I'm Wesley Fofana, by the way, I'm definitely claiming that. If I score that at my 5-a-side,
has he scored this season?
He hasn't scored since.
I think so.
I want to say 2023.
Oh, I'll definitely be claiming it.
It's been a long time. Yeah, I would definitely claim that. Yeah. His centre-back partner, though, was at least a big positive from this game. The return of Levi Colwill, I think, was absolutely massive. I thought Chelsea has such a better team with him in the starting 11. And I think also, not only Colwill, but there was a few players that I feel like since Maresca left, there's been a lot of players that have really, for me, had a downturn in form. Cole Palmer wasn't even in great form when Maresca was here. But the likes of Cucurella, Moises Caicedo, I feel like since the turn of the year, they've really gone downhill. But I thought in this game, they looked a bit more like their old selves. Palmer included, even though he wasn't at his 2023, 24 levels, I thought he was better.
Yeah, I would agree. Like on the Colwill thing, I think it's not just from a defensive standpoint, it's also from a build-up play as well. There's no surprise, right, that's the best we've looked defensively and the best we've looked in our build-up play, and it coincides with him being back. And it's not just him either. That was Wesley Fofana's best game in a long time. As you said, his form and others' form has just nosedived, like, really since the turn of the year. And for me, it's no surprise that he had his best game in alongside Colwill. He's vocal, he's a leader. The build-up play, the line-breaking passes that we've been missing all season, just his defensive capabilities in general. And it just makes you think you're sort of like, the season could have been so different if they just signed a centre back. Like if you look back at that, I'm not saying that we would have been challenging for the title or anything like that, but I think we would have been comfortably in the top 4, comfortably in the top 5 if a centre back had just been signed. So when you see Colwell return and the impact that he's making, you just sort of think, well, why did we not just do anything about it? And a lot of this mess could have been avoided. I mean, in regards to Palmer. That's his best performance in a while, admittedly low bar, but again, when he's on the ball, he looked a lot more confident. He looked like he was bringing the ball forward. He was wanting the ball, showing for the ball, which hasn't always been the case in recent weeks. So look, I guess you've got to take small positives and stuff, but because of who he is and what he's done, you expect a lot more. The same with Caicedo, his form has nosedived as well, but that was one of his better games in quite a while. So there were some positive individual performances, but as I said earlier, ultimately it just feels a bit like a sense of it's a little bit too little too late kind of feeling.
You feel the same?
100%. I think you said it right. The core players, I think the spine of the team, they weren't near their best, but they definitely improved. I mean, the past few games, if the core of the team don't perform, the players like Gusto, players on the wing like Neto, they're not going to perform as well.
Sound like a rapper when you said that. Like Neto.
No, but I'm saying, players, as you said, Palmer, Colwell was ridiculous for his first start to be back at Anfield as well. Playing 90 minutes before Lavia, bear in mind.
That's crazy.
I think he was ridiculously good. And, we saw his line-breaking passes. You can see the mentality he had there, defending, his explosive sprints was on point as well. It didn't look like he was lacking any fitness. And I think when these sort of players are performing higher, then the players around them will do even better. Because you're seeing players like Caicedo doing the one-touch passes around the corner with Palmer, linking up nicely, playing through the middle. That's only going to make the other players want to do the same. But if they're not taking the risk, if the core players aren't taking the risk, then the other players aren't going to have the confidence to do it themselves. So I feel like it did go on top of them players, the fringe players, a lot there.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a great point you made about kind of the spine, the key players of the team need to be performing at the level to encourage or platform the players around them as well. One thing we did see that was a bit different, and maybe Chelsea were kind of forced into it by their lack of wingers, available wingers in this game, was we were speaking before we started recording about the formation and how formations don't really exist anymore because now you have an in-possession formation and an out-of-possession formation. But Chelsea in possession played this kind of 3-back system, which we've seen down the years with Antonio Conte, Thomas Tuchel, and it could be in preparation for the likes of a manager like Xabi Alonso to come in, who played that 3 or 5 at the back system at Bayer Leverkusen with the wing backs flying high. What did you make of the system, and do you think it's preparing for Xabi?
I mean, look, I think the system itself, we're kind of forced into it because I don't think we would have set up that way if we had the relevant wide players available. But it worked reasonably well. I mean, Cucurella was a constant threat. I know people didn't like it when he was picking up the number 10 positions under Enzo Maresca and stuff, but actually...
I always quite liked that.
To be fair, I didn't mind it either, but there was a lot of discontent around himself and Gusto arriving in those inside 10 positions on the ball, and you want, ideally, players with better quality in the final third to be arriving in those positions. But I actually thought Cucurella... That, as I said, Lloyd, that was his best game in a while. And he was a constant threat down that left-hand side. And arguably, he was the biggest threat that we had from an attacking point of view. It's just frustrating that unless you're like an Achraf Hakimi or a Nuno Mendes or whatever, not a lot of fullbacks have got the relevant quality required on the ball to have the impact in the final third. So he'll get into great positions. He's got the technical ability, and he's got the footballing IQ to pick up those positions. But obviously, because his primary focus is not threading through balls in the final third and having that vision and stuff, you often get let down when you've got those kind of fullbacks picking up those positions. But I liked it. I was not opposed to it. I thought Jarell Hato, again, he's looking very promising. Good to see him back in the side. I thought it was unfairly dropped for 2 games after Rossinia's sacking, and he looks like another promising player. And the back 3 gives you a few more options. It gives you a lot more defensive solidity. You can push up quicker as well because you've got that extra cover at the back. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it. My only thing would be, if you were going to do that long term, say Xabi Alonso were to come in, I'm just not sure. Obviously, Reece James is fully capable of doing that in terms of an ability standpoint. But I just don't know, with the way that he's been managed, or the way we've looked after his body, he hasn't played wing back properly since the Thomas Tuchel days, right? Would he be able to do that again, given his body? It's nothing to do with his ability, nothing to do with him as a footballer. from a physical standpoint, could you actually get Reece James back to the 21-22 season, Reece James doing a wing-back thing? That would be my only issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure quite from a mobility point if he's still got that. As much as I would love to see,
that'd be great, wouldn't it?
It's ridiculous when it works.
When he's in that position and he's flying like he can be, he's for me the best in the world.
Sure,
100%.
I want to ask you about the whoever's going to be the incoming manager. Who do you want to see? Because I spoke to Joe Cole in the week.
Yeah.
Amazing bloke, by the way.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah,
he is.
I can imagine.
One of my favourite interviews I've ever done was that chat with Joe Cole.
Yeah.
He reckons he wants Jose Mourinho back.
I mean,
who do you want? Not who do you think will get? Who do you want?
What do I want?
To happen?
Okay, well, as Chelsea Football Club, I want Zidane.
Jesus, right?
That's what we want. As Chelsea, we want the big names.
Okay.
But if we're talking from a realistic standpoint, from the ones that are going to be on the shortlist, I'd like Xabi Alonso. If Fabregas is on there, I want Fabregas.
Okay.
But I feel like he's going to want to stay at Como and do the Europe with them.
Football,
Nah, for me, I'd take Xabi Alonso. But I think the really important thing, right, over style of play, over all of this thing, right, is we have got to get someone in who commands respect of the dressing room from day one instantly, not getting respect 2 or 3 weeks in, commands respect from day one. So for me personally, I'd be overlooking slightly principles of play, tactics, that sort of thing. We need to get in either a proven winner from a managerial standpoint on the CV, or a proven winner in terms of someone who's been there and done it in their playing career.
Xabi Alonso fits both.
Fits both, yeah. Or if you can't get him, you go down the kind of the ex-player route, affiliation with the club, because the problem you're going to have is, right, if you appoint someone who isn't a proven winner or doesn't have an affiliation with the club, because of the relationship between the fans and the ownership right now, the manager will be seen as an extension of the ownership, and straight away they're on the back foot with the fan base. Like, you've got to make an appointment that buys the manager time with the fans, and a proven winner does that, and someone who's got an affiliation with the club would do that as well. So Xabi Alonso for me ticks that box, as would assess Fabregas in terms of the affiliation with the club. But yeah, a lot for me, Alonso is the standout candidate, and it's not about us wanting him, it's about whether he wants us at the end of the day.
Yeah, I wonder, well, something Chelsea are certainly not in recent years is proven winners in FA Cup finals, and we've got one of them coming up against Manchester City, who Chelsea haven't beaten at all since the Champions League final in 2021. Now, I feel like whenever Chelsea get to a final, we saw it with the Club World Cup, we saw it with the Conference League, there's always this narrative that comes out, and I wonder if you're on board with this or not, that Chelsea, we show up in the big games, haven't beaten Man City in 13, but we beat them when it matters. Are they going to beat them in the FA Cup final this weekend?
Yes, I'm saying yes. Maybe I'm deluded.
You are.
And maybe the hope is going to kill me. But look, and to be fair, I also think if City don't look like they're going to be able to pull back the league, I think they're going to put extra focus on the FA Cup. But I'm going to be deluded and say we're going to win. Because I just think, I don't know, I've seen us lose too much in FA Cup finals and Carabao Cup finals recently.
It's got to change at some point.
Has to change at some point, and maybe that'll be like the start of a new beginning. But realistically, maybe not. But I can hope we can, and hopefully the good players can pull through and just carry us through that game. It's a one-off game, anything can happen.
I'd love to sit here and say we've got a good chance. By the way, you've always got a chance in a final, but I just think if you look at the way that we're playing, look at how Man City are playing, it's very difficult to make a compelling case for Chelsea to actually win this game of football. Finals, anything can happen. As I said, look, we've lost our last, 5-6 Wembley finals in a row. It's always important to remember, Man City have lost their last 2 FA Cup finals. Lost against Palace last season, and lost against Man United under Ten Hag. So they've also got a bit of a point to prove in FA Cup finals. I just think the gap's way too big in terms of quality and class. Now, a final can level that out a little bit, but I don't think that's going to level it out enough in our favour. You look at the game at Stamford Bridge, for example. I know, that was... You can say those games don't, it's not a big game. That was a massive game for us. Like, a lot of these games have been big games against Man City where we've fallen short. I just think the required quality for us to go, we'd have to go up significant levels that we really haven't seen probably since the Barcelona game in November to get anywhere near Man City, and their level also would have to considerably drop. So yes, they've got it in them to raise their game, but I don't think we've got it in us to raise our game enough to the level that's required. I think the only way we're going to have an opportunity is if we make it scrappy a little bit and try and bring them down to our level. Because we try and play them at football, they will easily dispatch us, unfortunately. So, I think it could be a bit of a long afternoon.
I think there's a massive managerial golf in class as well. Yeah. I always think of that graphic on Sky Sports of Guardiola and Ryan Mason. I feel like we're going to see something.
They'll run that out again. Yeah. But what a story it would be, by the way, if Callum McFarlane did win. If he did win the FA Cup, like it would be mad, wouldn't it?
And then he gets the job afterwards.
No, he wouldn't get the job. But do you know what I mean? Like there's so many stories sort of intertwined in it, but. You're right, though. We see Pep Guardiola on a touchline, right? If things need changing in game, you haven't really got confidence that McFarlane's going to make some tactical tweaks that are going to win us the game, and he's going to put so-and-so in this position, he's going to make this change, and he's going to switch the system or whatever he might do. And we've also got to realise, look, Neto and Garnacho might be back. We might have a few more options, but generally speaking, the 11 that will go out on the pitch on Saturday is pretty much going to be what's going to have to win us the game, because there's not going to be any real game changers or quality to come off the bench and try and impact it. Whereas City have got an abundance of riches to bring on, and that can win the game. We're just not in that position.
Do you start Levi Colwill? I feel like it's a bit of a risk, a player who's been out for that long to play a full 90 minutes.
But he got a whole week to recover.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised he played 90 minutes at Anfield. I thought he would have played maybe 45 or 60 minutes. Maybe 60 minutes. He played 45 against Forest.
I was surprised he didn't come off when he
looks a bit tired.
He looked a bit like he had some sort of knock.
I almost think now, you have to play him. I know that might sound a bit mad, but I think you have to play him because Tosin is not good enough. Chalobah seems to have, I don't know if Chalobah was rested for that Liverpool game or what it was. We saw it earlier in the season, not this season, last season, right? That Fofana and Colwill was the preferred centre-back pairing. Chalobah's obviously come in and he's done a reasonable job. He's been available, he's been dependable. But it's always like that feeling, as soon as Colwill was back, that the Colwill-Fofana pairing was always going to be the preferred one. And we have seen signs of that partnership actually looking pretty good. So I don't want to say it'd be a mistake not to start him, but I almost feel you have to because of what he brings you. And the drop-off is so big when you don't play him. So you don't want to be in a situation where you don't start him, you have a terrible start to the game, you're losing at half-time, and then you put him on in the second half. It's just like...
I've got a feeling Chalobah will...
You think he'll come back in?
I have a feeling he would.
Because I feel like, obviously, playing against Haaland, physically... You almost need Chalobah.
I think Fofana might struggle against someone like Haaland. I do think Fofana does complement Colwill very well, so that could be something we see more in the future as the starting partnership. But I think against Haaland, maybe you do want a Trevor Chalobah just there to rough him up a bit and make it difficult, because I think we've seen Fofana sort of not win duels in the box and not defend the box so well. So I think that could be a complete game changer if which depending on which centre back starts that game.
And one other talking point ahead of the FA Cup final is there's another protest being organised by Not a Project CFC. The last time I saw you, Charlie, was actually at the
I've seen you there.
Always a pleasure to see you. But yeah, what do you make of that? Obviously, I can't really give too much of an opinion on that, but what do you guys think of that as fans and the action that's being taken against the ownership?
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. Obviously, the fans are not happy with the way the football club's being run, and rightly so. There's been, a catalogue of errors that have, run the football club into the ground. It's unrecognisable from what it used to be. And it's right that fans voice their frustrations and try and force change. I felt the march before the United game was a big success. There was a good turnout. It was a clear message, and there were strong, powerful visuals that was picked up by by a lot of mainstream media. And I think that's really important. In terms of moving forward, you have to be consistent with this sort of thing. So it's great to see something else has been planned. I think a march up Wembley Way is for an FA Cup final. I think that's important as well. It's really important that you don't do sort of like selective protesting as such, where it's like, we won a couple of games, so it doesn't matter anymore. No. It's arguably more powerful when you're doing well, because that really sends a message home. And I think ahead of a cup final, it's an important visual. I think the next step after that is, in stadium action has to be the next thing to do.
Against Spurs,
It's going to happen against Spurs. pleased to hear it. My only issue with that is how you get enough people to do that. In an away end, for example, that wouldn't be a problem because the majority of people think that it's a lot less people and it's what you would call the hardcore support. Stamford Bridge is very different. You know, you've got a lot of fans who just go for the enjoyment, aren't invested in football from the day to day. They go on the weekend, don't think about it. They'll go the next weekend or whatever. Fine. We've also got we've got the oldest season ticket holders in the league, and I think also a lot of them maybe there's a lot of people that aren't that fussed about what's going on, and that's also fine. That's entirely their right to think that. So I would question how you would get enough people to turn round and do what the plan is for it to be a strong visual, because how many people are actually going to know about this?
Yeah, and how many people? I wonder if it's one of them things where people will just see other people doing it and join in, but then you're not really.
Yeah.
You know,
are we going to see enough people doing it for other people to want to copy and do it?
Is it going to be a?
And also, by the way, you can't make someone else do it anyway. People have got to want to do it. Like, if someone next to you doesn't want to do it, like you're not going to try and force them to do it. Like, people have got to want to do it. Like, you got to do it because you believe in it. Don't just do it because everyone else is doing it. I think in-stadium action is definitely the right next step, but it's important to get it right. I think it's something more powerful, or perhaps, I don't know if it's easier to implement, but you've seen Strasbourg do it. You've seen it's happened at a lot of other teams who aren't happy with their ownerships is, don't go in, obviously go in, but don't take your seats until the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game or whatever minutes of the game is done, and then go in after the first 10, 15 minutes or whatever. I think stuff like that is more powerful, and I think maybe it's slightly easier to plan rather than 20 odd minutes into a game. Let's try and get loads of people to turn round and chant for a minute, and then I just think logistically I'm not sure how you're going to pull that off to the scale that it needs to be pulled off to, because for it to have the desired effect, I mean, Stamford Bridge, 38, 40k? You need a good 25, 30,000 of that ground to all spin round at the same time and do it. And I just don't know how you implement that.
Yeah.
The last thing I'm going to ask you, and give me a quick answer because we haven't got much time left, is if Chelsea win the FA Cup, obviously they'll be in the Europa League. If they don't win the FA Cup, there's a chance of Europa League, but there's also a chance of Conference League. There's also a decent chance of no European football at all. Obviously, we'll all take the Europa League, I assume. If it's the Conference League or nothing, what do you want next season?
I think it's got to be nothing, to be honest. We've seen the Conference League, and I might have been enjoying to watch it the first time and destroy these teams in Europe. But I don't think a team like Chelsea should be in that competition more than once in the long run. When you win it once, it's great, but I feel like if you go into it again, then I feel like, firstly, the atmosphere in the stadium isn't good the first time, and I don't think it'll be any better the second time. And next season, we need to improve. So I think more time to recover from Premier League games is actually more beneficial than having the Conference League game on the Thursday. For new players as well, they need to be able to focus on the Premier League. But a Europa League would be all right because it's actually a good, respectable competition to win, and there's high level teams in there to be able to compete with Chelsea, and that might even make us grow more.
Charlie?
Yeah, look, I think I've seen you out in Poland for the final. By the way, the final was great. Yeah, it was great. Wrocław was a great town. No, it was a really, really good occasion and that. But it's one of those that it's a one and done for Chelsea. It's a club like Chelsea shouldn't be repeat visitors to the Conference League. Europa League, fine, and I think the only way we're going to get Europe this season, in my opinion, is if we win the FA Cup. Otherwise, I think we'll be playing once a week anyway. But yeah, look, Europa League, I would take that. But if it was Conference League or nothing, I think you take nothing. You take next season as an opportunity for the new manager to have all that time on the training pitch to work, implement his plans, all that sort of thing, and really drill home an identity and what we're trying to become, and instill principles of play and whatnot. So yeah, for me, I'd rather have nothing than the Conference League, but I'm hoping we can somehow find Europa League football.
Let's hope so. That is unfortunately all we've got time for on this episode of the Chelsea Blueprint. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me. Don't forget to like, comment down below and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back next week when we know the result of whether Chelsea will be playing in the Europa League if they've beaten Manchester City in the FA Cup final. Thank you very much again for watching. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.